Right now on Morning News Now, a massive shot of momentum for progressive Democrats in battleground Michigan heading into November. Overnight, NBC News projecting Abdul El-Sayed clinching that pivotal Senate nomination over the establishment candidate who's been backed with big money by pro-Israel groups, Haley Stevens. On the Republican side, despite nagging questions about his popularity, President Trump's support still looks like it's giving Republican hopefuls a leg up at the ballot box. Also this morning, Todd Blanche now one step closer to becoming America's next Attorney General, thanks to a critical committee vote that'll send his nomination straight to the Senate. But will he actually be confirmed? And what about the future of that controversial anti-weaponization fund that Mr. Blanche promised to scrap? We'll take you to Washington. Investors on Wall Street still seeing green this morning after two of the major markets closed out yesterday's trading session at all-time highs. So what's behind this latest rally? We are watching your wallet in a bit. Plus, we know surfing social media can really take a toll on our mental health if we are not careful. But just how crabby is it actually making us? And how can we stay connected without it becoming a problem? The doctor is in later in the hour. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe is enjoying some much-deserved time off this week, so it's just me, and we appreciate you joining us today. We are beginning our show with some big primary election results that could have a major impact on the midterms. Those, by the way, now just 90 days away. The battleground state of Michigan saw a big win for Democratic progressives, among them former public health official Abdul El-Sayed. NBC News projects El-Sayed won his Senate primary against establishment-supported Congresswoman Haley Stevens. El-Sayed overcame a near $65 million onslaught of outside money, criticizing Stevens for the money she did receive from these corporate PACs, including more than $30 million from a group affiliated with the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Well, on the Republican side, despite some sagging poll numbers, it was still a good night for Trump-backed candidates. NBC News projects Ty Masterson, the Kansas State Senate president, won his party's nomination in the state's race for governor. NBC News correspondent Chris Pallone joins us now with more on all of this. Hi, Chris. Good morning.
Savannah, good morning to you. Control of Congress, of course, a big prize this fall. Republicans hoping to maintain majorities in both chambers to continue enacting President Trump's agenda. Democrats trying to capitalize on the president's low approval ratings to take back the House and perhaps even the Senate to slow down the MAGA movement.
This morning, a big win for Democratic Party progressives in a key battleground state. NBC News projecting Michigan Democrats chose Abdul El-Sayed to be their nominee for Senate over the establishment favorite, Representative Haley Stevens. The epidemiologist campaigned with prominent far-left Democrats, running on a platform of providing Medicare for all and abolishing ICE.
We can't control the past 250 years. What we can do is build the next 250.
The race closely watched by Republicans as they try to snatch an open Senate seat now held by a Democrat. President Trump commenting to reporters before the race was called.
I have not found out who won the election tonight with Abdul. Who won?
It looks like it's going to be a long night.
Oh, really? Ooh, that's interesting.
Progressives are also claiming victory in a key Michigan House primary, with activist William Lawrence defeating two Democratic challengers. And in Missouri, incumbent Representative Wesley Bell beat back a challenge from former Congresswoman Cori Bush in a race largely contested over support for Israel.
We can disagree over here, but we can still do the work. We can disagree over there, but we can still do the work. Because progressives are supposed to make progress.
For Republicans, aligning with President Trump continues to be a good strategy.
I can't go without thanking President Trump. He's so fun.
Trump-backed State Senator Ty Masterson will try to win back the Kansas governor's office for Republicans this fall after defeating 6 other candidates.
And to retake the House, Democrats need to add 3 seats this fall. And to take back the Senate as well, Democrats would need to pick up 4 seats there, which would be extremely difficult if they don't win that Michigan seat held now by retiring Senator Gary Peters. Savannah.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for kicking us off this hour. Big news. Well, let's dig a little deeper into some of these results and what they might mean for the upcoming midterms with the boss of the big board, NBC News chief data analyst Steve Kornacki. Hey, Steve.
American voters in 5 states hit the polls on Tuesday, and I've got some major results to share with you, starting in the state of Michigan, where Abdul El-Sayed has won the Democratic primary for the United States Senate. He defeats Congresswoman Haley Stevens. This was a very close race here. You can see there are still a scattering of votes to be counted, but El-Sayed currently leading Stevens by 2 points here. He will be the Democratic nominee this November, and he will face off against the Republican, Mike Rogers. He won his primary unopposed tonight. Rogers, a former congressman, he ran for the United States Senate in this state against Alyssa Slotkin in 2024. He narrowly lost. He will be now facing off in his second Senate campaign against El-Sayed. The backdrop of this race, which will be one of the most closely watched races this November, is that this is a state that Donald Trump won. It's a swing state. Trump carried it by a point over Kamala Harris in 2024, and Democrats in nominating Abdul El-Sayed, a candidate who was backed by Bernie Sanders, who ran on certainly a far-left progressive platform. Can a candidate as far to the left as El-Sayed win a state like Michigan? We have seen a host of these left-wing candidates win primaries this year in deep blue districts, deep blue cities, where the general election is a foregone conclusion. It's not a foregone conclusion in Michigan. This will be a test. Can El-Sayed, can his ideology win in a state that went for Donald Trump by a point? Other major races here tonight in Michigan, the governor's race. Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State, she will be the Democratic candidate for governor, and she will be facing off, trying to succeed two-term Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who's not running for re-election. She will be facing off against John James. John James, a congressman from Macomb County, a Republican who ran with the endorsement of Donald Trump. He wins the Republican primary tonight over Perry Johnson. It will be James. It will be Benson. That will be the governor's race. In the congressional races, a significant result in Michigan's 7th district tonight here. William Lawrence, again, a progressive insurgent candidate, winning the nomination in this, a swing district that Donald Trump carried by a point in 2024. Lawrence wins this primary tonight and will face off in the fall against freshman Republican Tom Barrett. This is a congressional district version of the question that's been raised about El-Sayed in the Senate race. Can a candidate as far to the left as Lawrence win in a district that Donald Trump won by a point in 2024? So big, momentous results out of Michigan tonight that squarely put this state in the spotlight in November, both in terms of the Senate race, which will have massive implications for control of the United States Senate, and in this House race, which could have big implications for control of the United States House of Representatives.
All right, Steve Kornacki, thanks so much. Well, this morning we are learning that a man was arrested on Sunday at President Trump's golf course near Los Angeles after he appeared to be monitoring security preparations just days before the president's fundraiser there, according to authorities. Well, yesterday, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office Department said that 38-year-old, his name is Janine John Taylor, he was spotted by plainclothes federal agents taking photos and video. They also say he was found to have a magazine loaded with what's called armor-piercing hollow point ammunition. That was in his pocket. Authorities later recovered a loaded pistol in his car. A search of his home turned up multiple weapons, including what the Sheriff's Department called an illegally modified assault rifle. Taylor now faces several weapons-related charges in addition to an earlier robbery charge from 2025. On Monday, he pleaded not guilty to all charges, and his bail was set at $250,000. Well, in Washington, acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is one step closer to getting that job full time. The Senate Judiciary Committee voted yesterday to advance his nomination after he put in writing that the Department of Justice is scrapping President Trump's proposed billion-dollar anti-weaponization fund. For more, let's bring in NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumback. Gary, good morning. So do we know when Blanche's nomination will head to the full Senate for a vote, and what do we expect it to see there?
So we expect the vote to happen on Friday or Saturday later this week for sure, where the Senate holds 53 Republicans in the Senate. They're going to need almost every single one of those votes. And Senator Susan Collins has already said she will not vote for Todd Blanche to be the next Attorney General. She's upset about a number of things, from that IRS settlement to the fact that he's blocking abortion pills from being mailed using the U.S. Postal Service, to the attempted indictments of Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin over that military orders video. So a number of of reasons. She's not happy. So this becomes a real numbers game for Republicans in the Senate. They need everyone to show up and they need everyone to vote. And that becomes an issue because of people like Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, who hasn't been seen in the United States Senate in months because of that medical incident he suffered from several months ago. Savannah.
Gary, let's also talk about what was sort of this big stumbling block here, because Democrats do still seem skeptical that Blanche will keep his word about dismantling the anti-weaponization fund, even after this was put in writing. Illinois Senator Dick Durbin said the letter is totally unenforceable, were his words. I mean, is there anything preventing Blanche from reversing the course on this after he were to take office, in theory?
The short answer here is no, other than the fact that he said he wouldn't reverse course on this, and he said the weaponization fund is dead. But the original agreement was signed by President Trump's personal lawyers, was signed by the Trump Organization, was signed by the IRS, and was signed by the Department of Justice. The new agreement, the one that made Cornyn and Tillis so pleased here and got them to a yes vote, was signed only by Todd Blanche. And that legally does actually have effect, because Todd Blanche could absolutely effectively unsign the order, and then the weaponization fund is not as dead as he says it is, and as the president wants it clearly to continue here, Savannah.
Gary, I want to switch gears here, ask you about another piece of news out of D.C. This is about embattled Ohio Representative Max Miller. We talked about him a little bit yesterday and sort of the behind-the-scenes family issues that are now spilling out into the public as he is seeking this election. He is asking the House Ethics Committee to investigate domestic abuse allegations made by his ex-wife during their custody battle in an effort, he says, to clear his name. So he's asking for them to investigate himself. How common is that for a member of Congress to ask for an investigation into themselves?
Yeah, this is a sad and messy personal situation between a sitting congressman, his ex-wife, who happens to be the daughter of a sitting U.S. senator here. Essentially, what Max Miller's doing here is he's calling the cops on himself, right? He's asking for this investigation from the House Ethics Committee, and they've taken him up on this offer. They say they're going to investigate the allegations of domestic abuse, the allegations of potential drug use by Congressman Max Miller. But this is actually something that could take weeks, if not months, to actually come to a conclusion here, Savannah.
And would the outcome carry any real weight either way?
So this is going to be a recommendation. The House Ethics Committee investigates members of Congress all the time who have financial wrongdoings or, in this case, domestic assault allegations, and they will offer the idea to censure him, perhaps, or suggest that perhaps he leave his seat. But they don't have any real binding effect here for the U.S. Congress. Certainly it would be a slap on the wrist if they were to say he did something wrong here, but it's not like they can go to the police and actually suggest criminal charges to that effect.
All right, Gary, thank you so much. Well, in financial news, U.S. stock markets rallied to records on Tuesday. Both the Dow Jones and S&P 500 closed at new all-time highs, thanks in part to solid corporate earnings reports. Also adding to the boost, falling oil prices driven by renewed optimism that a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz could be near. We have Investopedia editor-in-chief and chief business editor of People Inc., Caleb Silver, joining us now. Caleb, great to have you with us. Good morning. So tell us a little bit just about why this happened. I think we've seen so many ups and downs. Right now we're seeing it up. Why is that the case?
Yeah, stop me if you've heard this one before, but we really have gone through this pattern almost every weekend where there's hostilities going into the weekend, and then by Sunday we hear that there may be a deal. A deal may be near, the Strait of Hormuz may be open, and oil prices react to that. And when oil prices fall like they fell yesterday and into the night before, you're going to get a big reaction in the stock market. You mentioned corporate earnings season. We're in the report card season for corporations. Mm-hmm. They are stacking profits on top of profits right now, and that's what investors want to see. So if oil prices are going to slow down and reduce a little bit, we're going to see gas prices fall eventually, and maybe inflation will cool, and this is how investors reacted. Expect more record highs today.
You do expect this to continue today. What about the rest of the week?
Well, it depends on what we hear and what happens in the Strait of Hormuz. There's so many headlines coming out of Iran right now. It's really a question of how long these oil prices are going to remain low. Are they going to remain low through the fall? And when you look at oil, it's a commodity that trades into the future. I look at oil prices today at $75 a barrel. In November, they're priced at $73 a barrel. So the expectation is oil prices will come down. Gas prices will come down, bringing inflation with it. That's good news for the stock market, and investors have been waiting for more good news to keep buying. They got it yesterday.
Let's talk about the gas prices piece of it and how Americans at home really feel this. So let's say, which, by the way, it doesn't seem likely necessarily that today we're going to get this deal on the Strait of Hormuz, and even when we do, that immediately the traffic goes back to where it was prior to this war starting. But let's just say we get to that point. How long from then until when actual gas prices at the pump go back down?
Good question. AAA gas prices right now, $4.08 across the country. A year ago, they were $3.16. So we got a long way to go before that even happens. So gas prices, oil prices tend to shoot up like a rocket and fall like a feather. It takes a long time for the supply chain to react to these lower oil prices. So I wouldn't expect gas prices to be lower until the fall. We're also in the busiest driving season of the year, the summer driving season. So gas prices are naturally elevated. It's going to take a little while.
I do want to get your take on one other thing, another piece of news before we let you go, Caleb. So this is about this ongoing saga involving the Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery merger, because now a judge has set the date for the start of the merger's antitrust trial, which we have to go through for them to even merge, for March 2027. That is a lot later than these companies would have been hoping for, than Paramount would have wanted. And here's the real kicker, is that it means that they're going to be forced to pay what's called a ticking fee during that time. What does that mean? How much money are we talking?
Yeah, great Investopedia term, ticking fee. That means if this deal takes longer to close than expected, then Paramount has to pay Warner a ticking fee that amounts to $650 million a quarter, $7 million a day, or 1 quarter per share. So that's just because of the delay, and there's nothing they can do about it. They're going to have to pay this fee. If the deal doesn't go through, it's a $7 billion breakup fee. Breaking up isn't hard to do when you get these massive media mergers, and right now the lawyers are making a lot of money as this trial now moves all the way until next spring.
Wow. So even if the merger's blocked?
Even if the merger's blocked, a huge payout for Warner Brothers shareholders.
All right. Wow. All right, Caleb, thank you so much. Well, more than 20 states are suing the Trump administration over its latest efforts to restrict certain federal benefits programs. The plaintiffs, led by New York Attorney General Letitia James, filed the lawsuit on Monday in a federal court in Washington. They are trying to block a policy change that's set to take effect next week that would require sensitive personal information like recipients' immigration status and social security numbers to be shared with some government agencies and potentially some private entities in order for states to receive funding. This centers around the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, which provides more than $16 billion in grants to all states, D.C., and tribal government each year. It's used to help low-income families make ends meet by offering cash assistance, job training, food aid, child care subsidies, or even emergency housing. For more on this lawsuit, we've got our friend, NBC News legal analyst Danny Sabal is here. Danny, good morning. So first, just help us to understand what the states are arguing here and how strong that argument is.
There are really four main arguments. First, that the executive branch exceeded the authority given to it under this particular statute. Second, there are all these privacy laws, many different privacy laws, that prevent the government from doing exactly this. Third, and this is a very popular ground nowadays, the Administrative Procedures Act, that even if this was lawful, the procedures were not followed. And then finally, the argument of the spending clause. That's a constitutional argument. And it's essentially that when the states agreed to accept this money long ago, these conditions were not attached to it. So, in other words, the states never agreed to this under the Constitution's spending clause, which does allow the federal government to control states, but not directly control them. Instead, to dangle money in front of them and say, hey, if you want this federal money, you got to do what we want.
So basically, the federal government, it sort of depends on those things that you're saying in order for them to be able to do that. Well, the lawsuit also claims that if families are worried about this data sharing, then they're less likely to sign up for aid that they would be qualified for. But if less people sign up for the federal program, how does that end up impacting the states and local communities?
Yeah, saying there's a chilling effect isn't just about the human story. It's not just a bid for sympathy. It's actually what gets the states into court. And that's because of the constitutional requirement of standing. They need to have an actual harm. So, for example, the states are going to argue that by taking away this money, that shifts the burden on helping these people to the states, and they may not have the money. They may have to go to different budget areas to make that money up. And that, for example, would be the harm that a party needs. Any party, not just the states, any person who sues in court, they need to have an actual injury. And that's what the states are going to claim is going to be their injury.
This policy change is scheduled to take effect on August 11th. Does that still move forward, or what happens next year?
Normally, the filing of a complaint in court doesn't stop anything. You're going to need some kind of order from the court that is an injunction or a temporary restraining order. So look for that in the coming days. But the mere filing of a complaint won't stop anything. They have to go, the states have to go that extra step and ask for relief from the court. And they're going to have to show irreparable, immediate harm.
All right, Danny Ceballos, thank you so much. Well, out west, fire crews in Washington state and California are racing to try and contain several major wildfires. Northern California's Calaveras County has declared a state of emergency and is expanding evacuation zones in the face of the rapidly spreading Gan fire. Meanwhile, in Washington state, Aaron Farnacci, the man charged with starting one of the Spokane wildfires that has destroyed hundreds of homes, is being held on a $1 million bond and has not yet entered a plea. NBC News national correspondent Morgan Chesky is on the ground in Spokane with the latest.
The man authorities say is responsible for the most destructive fire in Spokane, Washington's history, under arrest and in court.
Yes, Your Honor.
The sheriff releasing this image of officers arresting Aaron Farnacci, tying the 37-year-old to the Old Trails fire, which aerial footage shows decimated entire neighborhoods and turned hundreds of homes to ash.
He was found to be in possession of some waterproof matches and a butane lighter.
Farnacci has a prior conviction of manslaughter, found guilty in Arizona for killing his own father in 2010. Released from prison 6 years ago, he's now being held on a $1 million bond, charged with one count of first-degree arson. The Spokane fires forcing nearly 70,000 people to evacuate, many of them taking refuge at the city's convention center, including Jocelyn Beaumont, who says the flames are now walking distance from her home.
We're waiting to see where the fire is going. I understood that the wind had changed. North, it's going to hit us. South, it's going to go back over itself.
We met the Andersons.
That's our house.
Who lost their home. We met their daughter, Lindsay Sabo, her husband, Chris, and two children, Colin and little sister, Leah.
Well, my friend's house burnt down, so that was more memories.
The Sabos telling us they just paid off their home 5 weeks ago.
All of our things are gone. We have nothing.
It, too, like her parents' home, reduced to rubble. To hear all of this may have been the work of an arsonist.
Yeah, I mean, I think to say we're mad and upset are a vast understatement.
It feels impossible that one person could cause this much damage to people and to property and to a community.
As Farnacci remains in police custody, investigators did say that upon initially being apprehended, he denied having anything to do with these fires. However, he has yet to issue a formal plea. That is anticipated to take place on Thursday when he's set to have his arraignment. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Morgan, thank you so much. We've got more details on what crews can expect as they battle wildfires and these above average temperatures in the Northwest with your Morning News Now weather. Angie Lastman joins us here in studio. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hi there, Savannah. Good morning. We've got kind of an unfortunate situation happening across parts of the Pacific Northwest and not a lot of relief in sight, at least in the short term. Let's show you exactly where those wildfires are right now across parts of Washington. You can see there's Spokane there. Just to the north and west, you can see the Autumn Lane fire, Fairview fire, and the Old Trails fire. 0% containment. The winds are light today, so that's, of course, a positive there, but we could still see widespread smoke impacting folks. I'll show you that air quality issue here in a moment. And when you zoom out and take a bigger look at exactly where all those wildfires are burning, you can see much of the Pacific Northwest, parts of the Rockies, stretching into the plains, a whole lot happening when it comes to our wildfire season, and it doesn't look like we've got a whole lot of relief. Notice this wildfire smoke kind of even as we get into the end of our work week, fairly dense in some of these spots. So air quality is going to suffer, especially if you live in the Pacific Northwest, as it already has been quite bad over the past couple of days. We're still going to see that same kind of situation. Unhealthy for sensitive groups and unhealthy. We're in both of those air quality index categories across places like Baker City, Quincy. Notice Burns and Spokane still unhealthy for sensitive groups. So those same kind of, the same kind of advice that we've been offering over the past couple of days, you're going to want to do again. Anywhere where you can be indoors, air purifiers, air conditioning is going to be your best bet. Temperature-wise, 29 million people are under these heat alerts. A lot of the same spots that we've been dealing with, again, for the extended period. We've got that up across parts of the west with temperatures surging yet again into the triple digits, especially across the southwest today. 111 in Palm Springs, Bakersfield and Fresno, Utah about 100 plus, 112 for Las Vegas. These numbers are above where they should be for this time of year. Of course, it is summer, but still 107 in Medford today. That's 16 degrees above our average temperature for this time of year. We've got the 90s in Eugene and in Portland. We've got 104 for Redding. So again, not a lot of relief when it comes to our temperatures across this region as well. This will be something that we likely see stay with us at least for the extended period. Along with the Rockies, we go from temperatures into the 90s on Thursday in Salt Lake City to 100 plus by Friday and Saturday. Those are actual temperatures. Casper, you're into the high 90s. Not a lot of relief. It'll feel very summer-like and above normal across those areas for at least the next couple of days. Meanwhile, we've got 9 million people under flood alerts, just a little section of parts of Missouri and Iowa and Illinois, as well as Washington, D.C. included in those as we gear up for some more rain today, thanks to this cold front that's been kind of sliding across the Midwest. We'll see some gusty storms with this. We'll see some spotty showers ahead of it across parts of the Appalachians. Might need your umbrella there, but the severe risk is going to be kind of on the low end, especially as we get into tomorrow, but we'll still be watching for that rain to impact any plans that you might have across parts of the Northeast as that cold front kind of slides into that area. So we'll keep the heavy rain in the picture and the heaviest of it centered across parts of the Midwest, 1 inch to 3 inches. Mostly we're looking at places across Missouri that we'll see kind of that highest amounts of rainfall. So we could see some localized flooding across those regions over the next couple of days, Savannah.
All right, Angie, thank you so much. We've got much more to come on this Wednesday edition of Morning News Now, including some concerning reports of another foodborne illness outbreak here in America. This time, it looks like it might be linked to one contaminated veggie at Chipotle locations. What you need to know to stay safe and healthy. First, though, after the break, startling new video of a suspected Russian drone attacking a civilian in Ukraine. Why President Zelensky is now comparing the violence to a hunter on a safari as the war rages on. That's next. We are back now with a chilling video of a drone attack in Ukraine as the war with Russia grinds on. Well, the video appears to show a civilian targeted by a suspected Russian drone that then explodes. Ukrainian President Zelensky is comparing the attack to a hunter on a safari. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons has more, and as you can see here, a warning: the images are disturbing.
The sound of a drone, a scream, and then a terrifying game of cat and mouse. You can see in this video, released by the Ukrainian military, a frightened Ukrainian vegetable vendor trying to get away from that drone. It appears to hunt him down. Then this. Yuri, shrapnel in his back, says, "I was trying to get away, but it kept coming at me." Many would hardly know this small drone, which Ukraine says is Russian, carried such powerful explosives. President Zelensky calls it drone safari, Ukraine accusing Russian forces of hunting civilians. Here, a woman on a bike is pursued. She was wounded in the leg. While Ukraine has been using AI drones to help reach long distances into Russia, like this attack that hit the Kremlin's bomber fleet, and Russian civilians have been killed and wounded. This suspected Ukrainian drone hitting a packed Russian beach Monday. 3 children were killed, according to Russia. Now, this Ukrainian man, who says he cannot understand why he would be in the crosshairs of a killer drone.
Our thanks to Keir Simmons for that report. And just to give you a sense of the scope of Ukrainian losses in this almost 4.5-year-long war now, according to the UN, 16,000 civilians have been killed. We have more international news now out of East Asia, where officials say major military drills have kicked off in Taiwan. NBC's Matt Bodner joins us to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Hi, Matt.
Savannah, good morning. Taiwan launched a major military exercise today. This one designed to test its commander's ability to respond flexibly to an opponent making unexpected moves. The drill also put them under conditions of restricted internet access. This is a 10-day exercise that Taiwan runs every year. It simulates a Chinese attack on command centers, ports, and logistics hubs. Moving along now to Germany, flights at the Leipzig-Halle airport were disrupted overnight after a flying object was reported in the vicinity, and another object was found near a runway. Germany's Leipzig Police Department told NBC News that, quote, several aircraft, including a passenger plane, were diverted to other airports. Police then dispatched an anti-explosive robot to check the object found south near the runway. No further details have yet been made available. And we'll wrap up this hour in Guatemala. The country is on alert this week after an eruption of the Fuego volcano. That's one of Central America's most active volcanoes. Villages near the volcano have been evacuated, and almost 2,000 people are in shelters and have been asked to stay in place until further notice. The alert is expected to stay in place for another day or two. Back to you.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. Well, coming up, if you've been scrolling through your feeds lately, you may have come across the now viral trend of protein maxing, basically going ham on your daily protein intake, eating as much as you can. But according to some new research, you might not want to beef up after all if you want to live longer. Dr. Azar is here to break it all down in our weekly checkup. That's coming up next.
Now it's jalapenos, suspected as the source of a salmonella outbreak in Minnesota. State officials say most of the 110 people who've gotten sick since mid-June ate at Chipotle. The rest dined at other Mexican-style restaurants. Chipotle reports jalapenos are used in guacamole, pico de gallo, chili corn salsa, and other items at its 4,100 restaurants. Chipotle says it's cooperating with the investigation and has proactively removed the jalapenos from its restaurants and replaced them with product from different growers. A spokesperson says the jalapenos in question were sent to several food service retailers across multiple states, but there is no information on where else the suspected peppers were sold. The FDA says it's conducting its own traceback investigation, which began July 22nd. Salmonella now on top of the cyclospora outbreak in more than 40 states. What's the difference between salmonella and cyclosporiasis?
Cyclosporiasis is from a parasite, and people tend to recover very slowly, but they do recover. With salmonella, we see 400 deaths a year, so it can be much more dangerous.
The cyclospore numbers skyrocketing. The CDC says it's confirmed more than 10,000 cases and is looking into another 12,000, some of which federal officials say are linked to the recalled iceberg lettuce supplied by Taylor Farms and sold at Taco Bell. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
All right, well, we're going to stay on this in our weekly medical checkup for a bit. This week, we've also got a new study that finds that eating less protein may actually boost longevity, plus new research on why you should limit sugar during a baby's first 2 years. NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar is with us. Dr. Azar, good morning. Let's start, though, there on the salmonella outbreak, just how concerned people should be and what symptoms are to be looking out for.
You know what? I mean, if you're in an area or you're a frequent consumer of Chipotle, you always want to be aware of alerts and keep your eyes and ears open. We're talking about a lot of food outbreaks this summer. Symptoms to look for. So salmonella infection usually starts about 6 hours to 6 days after exposure. A diarrheal illness, so nausea, vomiting, crampy, abdominal pain, and fevers and chills. Symptoms usually last about 4 to 7 days. The majority of people just require, rest and rehydration. In severe cases, people who have invasive disease or are hospitalized, immunocompromised could require antibiotics. We generally don't recommend antidiarrheals. So again, symptoms, if you're concerned and you think you might have been exposed, especially if you are a frequent consumer of the food, talk to your doc about potentially getting tested. But again, treatment, rest, and hydration.
Okay. All right. Good information there. Okay. Now I got to say, I'm a little annoyed about this because I don't like when we do such flip-flopping, and it's tough to keep up with.
Yes.
Whether it's like the full social media side of the internet of protein maxing or just like upping your protein intake is something that I feel was for sure a good thing. And now we've got a study maybe saying the opposite.
Well, okay, so a lot of caveats about this study. So first of all, what was this study and what did it tell us? It was a study of 350 studies. And their point of doing this was to say, how does protein intake actually impact longevity in humans? The issue is that the majority of the studies reviewed were in animals. And in animals, guess what? But if you restrict protein, they actually do live longer and they live healthier. This is not human data. This is in animals, right? Okay. But in humans, there are studies that show that if you restrict protein intake, you're actually able to lose weight and lose fat. And the idea here is that if you're restricting protein intake, you're going from this growth and metabolism phase to more what's called recycle and repair. And so that could help you in the long run. I want to say that this is extraordinarily important because especially with people who are older, if you're restricting protein intake, that's not good for your muscle mass. It's not good for your bone health. The issue is that people are just told to eat a lot of protein, but if you're not exercising and doing strength training, you could end up gaining weight. So my doctor's orders are, the recommendation right now is still from this updated recommendations, dietary recommendations for Americans, about 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight for most of us. No need to overdo it. And I want to really emphasize that how much protein you take in does have to do with your activity level, your age, and your overall health status. This is probably going to be a talk to your doctor situation. It's not necessarily flip-flopping because, again, this study was mostly in animals, but I think it is food for thought. No pun intended.
Okay, there you go. All right, another diet one. Sugar in early childhood. What should we know from this new study?
Okay, so this is really interesting. I found this extraordinarily interesting. When you have children, your pediatrician will tell you to avoid sugar, mostly because of your child's dental health, right? They don't want them like sucking on juice and things like that. This was completely different. This was looking at any correlation between sugar intake and dementia later in life. And guess where they got this data from? They got this data from people in the UK before and after World War II sugar rationing. So this is like a wealth of information that they could gather. And what they found is that people who had to limit sugar intake in utero and within the first 2 years of life had a lower risk of developing dementia, and also that dementia occurred about 2.5 years later. My doctor's orders are, I think this is really important information. If you're about to be pregnant or you are pregnant, think about limiting your sugar intake in the first 2 years of life. If for no other reason than dental, hygiene and care, you might want to think about limiting sugar. Sugar is, I say this to my patients. I don't say this a lot. Sugar can kind of be the devil for a lot of different things.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. This last one, maybe not a surprise, but just like what happens to us when we spend too much time on our phones on the internet.
Yeah. So this one was interesting because I think most of us think that people who use the internet a lot might choose to use the internet because they're feeling depressed or because of mood issues. It's actually temptation that drives people to use the internet. And what they found is that excessive internet use was linked to stress and worse mood, and that people were more likely to neglect other activities. I know this probably sounds kind of intuitive. And the thing that drove the use was temptation, pleasure. That was driving use as opposed to feeling depressed and going on the internet. It's actually the other way around. Doctor's orders, take social media breaks, and set timers. Something that I really want to try to do. I want to set a timer for myself to only be on Instagram 1 hour a day.
Right.
That's my
a good
goal.
one. Right.
Right.
And there are some apps that can help you with that.
Yeah.
That can set that. Not to say go get another app, but it can help you with that.
An easy switch. Yes.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Azar, thank you so much. Really good stuff today. Coming up, it's a banner day in the space community because something may have just crashed into the moon. When we come back, the out-of-commission SpaceX rocket booster that's believed to have made contact earlier this morning and what scientists are expected to take away from this latest high-profile collision. That is up next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. Yesterday, we told you about how a defunct SpaceX rocket booster was set to slam into the moon. Well, overnight, scientists believe the impact took place as expected. We just haven't seen it yet because no spacecraft was in position to capture it live. Well, NASA is expected to photograph the impact site in the coming days, giving scientists their first detailed look at this new crater. So the booster had been drifting through space since a 2025 lunar mission before striking the moon at more than 5,000 miles an hour, making this only the second known accidental rocket impact on the lunar surface. Joining us now is astronomer and space scientist Dr. Emily Rice. Dr. Rice, always great to have you join us. I mean, what a cool one to get to talk through. I mean, let's just first start with what do we know about the impact and what scientists are looking for now that it happened?
Yeah, we don't know anything yet, really. We know that it happened because we can't see the rocket booster anymore, but we were hoping to see a little bit of a flash from that impact. I don't think anybody was able to catch that. So we're going to have to wait for NASA's observing mission, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, to be able to see that area of the moon and look for that new crater. And then what we'll do is see what the size of the crater is, what the shape of the crater is, maybe see if there's ejecta around it that might be different colors or different shades to show us kind of the composition of the material that was thrown up, and compare that to our predictions, which is a great example of science.
So scientists, it's just going to be from these images that they're going to be able to confirm that it happened, even though we didn't see it?
Yeah. From those images, the before and after will compare to see that new crater there, yeah.
And then you're touching on this, but like, why is it that those things that you just said that they'll be able to study and understand, what do they help us learn, and what broader context do they provide us?
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting way to learn in a little bit more detail about this particular area on the moon. So we kind of have these big global surveys of the moon, and then we have kind of limited opportunities for really detailed studies of specific areas of the moon. It's happened before, when the Apollo missions landed, or when a specific area was targeted. For example, there was an impact in the southern pole to help show that there was a lot of water under the surface, or there's still not a lot of water, but more than we expected to be there. We don't often get these very detailed opportunities to study particular places on the moon in detail. And so this will be a really cool example, and one that we didn't really plan for.
So the moon is already obviously full of craters, and it's apparently had a bunch of objects smashing into it over all these years. So is this just like another dent in the surface, or a bigger deal?
I think we should think of it as a bigger deal. On one hand, yes, the lunar surface is really, really cratered. It has no atmosphere, and so there's no way to slow down any of these things that are flying around out there in space. And so impacts like this happen all the time. The astronauts on the Artemis 2 mission, when they circled around the far side of the moon, they saw a bunch of impacts. During meteor showers and things like that, amateur astronomers look for impacts. The difference, and even this one, an impact of this size happens about once a week on the moon. It's not that bad. But we did this. This was stuff that we put in space that we really should have responsibility for. We should have control over. We let this one impact the moon. And so this brings up a host of ethical questions. Should we be doing this? Should we be more cautious about how we handle end of life for these missions? What can we do about space junk even closer to Earth? And we're putting a lot more back on Earth and into our oceans, which we think of as safe, but there's a lot of stuff that still lives there. So we really have to think carefully about this.
Yeah, Dr. Rice, I think a lot of people, I certainly was sort of like, what? We could just leave a rocket out there and let it do whatever it wants until it crashes into something like the moon? It seems not really like something we should be doing, or, we're just leaving a giant piece of trash basically out in the universe. What does that mean for the fact that more countries, more private companies are trying to head back to the moon? What are we going to do about managing our rockets?
That's a great question. And that's something that we have to do, as a culture, as a civilization, as humanity. We really do have to think carefully about how are we doing this? What impact are we leaving? How are we kind of cluttering the space around us? Not only for if there's other life out there, we don't think there's life on the moon. We don't think there's life yet relatively nearby. But still, what does it mean for us to be this species that is putting stuff out there and not necessarily taking care of it? And again, all of this stuff has impact on Earth. And so we really do have to be carefully thinking about this.
Dr. Emily Rice, thank you so much for being here. Great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Well, back here on Earth, tensions are heating up in the race for global AI dominance. The Trump administration has now banned all foreign-made robotic devices, many of which are made in China. And that includes a popular product that you might even have in your home right now. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung explains.
The U.S. now going America first on robots, from humanoids to your Roomba.
The Roomba is made for challenges like this.
As the Federal Communications Commission moved to ban new foreign-made mobile robots, citing unacceptable risks they pose to economic and national security.
This is about mitigating our dependency and vulnerabilities going forward.
The ban affects all foreign tech, but most heavily impacts China, a robotics juggernaut that's estimated to control about 85% of the global market for humanoid robots. Tom, on a recent trip to China, seeing the robots for himself.
You're going to put these faces, these heads on the robots?
Yeah, in the future.
The ban doesn't affect existing products already sold here, but would include new mobile mechanical devices over a certain weight, meaning humanoids, dog-like robots with 4 legs, but also swept up in the ban any new version of smart vacuums, including Roombas.
They can create maps of our houses. They have cameras on them. They can be sending data back to their whatever companies they're made from. So that's where the real concern, I think, can be with the robot vacuums.
NBC News chief tech analyst Joanna Stern has tested both American-made and Chinese-made vacuums and says the ban is going to cost customers.
It means that some of the most affordable robo vacuums that they could get, they might not be able to get soon.
Beijing now threatening to retaliate as the robot race hits a new stride. Brian Chung, NBC News.
All right, coming up, forget touchscreens and tablets, because after the break, we are kicking it old school when Morning News Now returns why those classic vintage typewriters are finding a way into the creative hearts of a new generation in 2026. Stay with us. That's up next. And finally this hour, in a world of touchscreens, notifications, and Wi-Fi, one old school machine is making an unexpected comeback. The typewriter. NBC News Now anchor Christine Romans has a look at how these vintage machines are finding a new generation of users.
It's unmistakable. The sound of keys on metal, the click-clack of a bygone era. But typewriters are making a comeback. Here at Gramercy Typewriter in New York City, the old machines are finding a new audience.
People want to have a typewriter again.
The 94-year-old family business is now in the hands of Jay Schweitzer, who sells typewriters by day and repairs them alongside his father by night.
Although there's been so many changes in the world, for us, there hasn't been many changes at all. We're still overhauling and reconditioning machines the way it was done so many decades ago.
Store manager Nick Campano was once a customer.
Hello, Gramercy. I met Jay when I was 15, had a typewriter that needed to be fixed. I just kind of fell in love with the variation of all the machines, the history of them.
The modern typewriter was created in the 1800s, the tool of Hemingway, a staple of film noir like Sunset Boulevard and In a Lonely Place, and the workhorse of the American office. In the 1980s, typewriters were replaced by computers, but now?
If anything, demand has increased over the years. A lot of working people are tired of staring at that screen all day, and they find it rather refreshing to be in front of the typewriter and really focus and concentrate.
And work without pop-up ads or keystroke tracking or hacks. Nostalgic tech is having a moment. Google reports portable cassette players and iPods are trending, and people are missing the click-clack. Searches soaring for thocky and creamy-sounding keyboards.
Welcome to Keep Talk. Get a creamy keyboard.
Shauna Roark makes a living with her Olivetti Lettera 32 from the 1960s.
What are you thinking for your subject?
Writing custom poetry and sharing it on social media. A vintage tool meeting modern technology, almost poetry for a poet.
I love the resolute nature of it. So every decision is final, and it's so in the moment and spontaneous. No distractions. It's really just you and your thoughts and the paper. And I love kind of transporting people back in time when they see it.
Ted Bloomberg wrote a book on his typewriter.
It's completely modern. The only thing it won't do is give you the emojis, which I try to avoid. But I think it encourages thoughtfulness and care. And I love them.
Gramercy Typewriter attracts people young and old, poets and typewriter enthusiasts, and tourists from around the globe, and me. As a kid, I'd type stories and poems on my grandfather's 1928 Royal Portable. It's how I learned to be a writer.
So there it is.
When I brought it to Gramercy Typewriter a couple years ago for a cleaning, we made a discovery.
Bond Romans, Monroe, Iowa.
Yeah, and that was etched in to the back panel here, never to be able to be removed.
I know.
And here we are so many decades later rediscovering that.
In our high-tech, fast-paced world, there's something special about the typewriter, about going off the grid, slowing down, grounding ourselves in the rhythm of the keys, using an old tool to write something new. Christine Romans, NBC News, New York.
Okay, what a cool look there, and love that little picture of a little Christine. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us, so the news continues right now. Right now on Morning News Now, progressive primary victory. Overnight, progressive Democrats claiming victory in battleground Michigan. NBC News projects Abdul El-Sayed won the Democratic Senate primary, setting the stage for a tough battle against the Trump-backed GOP nominee in November.
We have a responsibility to assure that we unite to make sure that Mike Rogers never sees the inside of the U.S. Senate.
More on this and the other competitive races, raising the stakes for control of Congress as we inch closer to the midterms. Plus, plot against the president. Officials revealing an armed man was arrested over the weekend at one of President Trump's golf courses in California, days before he planned to visit. What we're learning about the suspect and the concerning items police found in his possession. More produce problems as the CDC confirms cases of cyclospora infections have surpassed 10,000 across the country. Another bacteria connected to food poisoning is on the rise. The popular fast casual chain officials are eyeing as the possible source of a salmonella surge, and what consumers need to know later this hour. And finally, it may be time to rethink your top 8. MySpace could be making a comeback. Owners of the social platform that dominated the internet in the early 2000s say they are relaunching it. What we know about the revival and how the site could stand out in today's social media landscape. Wouldn't that be something if we saw the resurgence of MySpace? Good morning, I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. Joe's off today. We're going to begin this hour with the results from Tuesday's primaries spanning 5 states. Among the biggest races we're watching is the Democratic Senate primary in battleground Michigan. That is where NBC News projects progressive Democrat Abdul El-Sayed to win against Congresswoman Haley Stevens, managing to overcome a near $65 million onslaught of outside money. It is a battle that was seen by many as a potential indicator for the direction of the Democratic Party. The win sets up a midterm clash with the Republican Party's Mike Rogers. NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles has the latest for us. Ryan, good morning.
Even though it turned out to be a much closer race in Michigan than the polls predicted, it was nonetheless a good night for progressive Democrats in their efforts to take over the Democratic Party. If Abdul El-Sayed holds on in Michigan, it sets up what could be the most competitive race on the Senate map, and it will be crucial to Democrats' efforts to take back the majority.
Overnight, a victory for progressive Democrats in battleground Michigan. In the closely watched, high-stakes Democratic Senate primary, voters choosing Abdul El-Sayed as their party's Senate nominee, defeating establishment-backed Congresswoman Haley Stevens.
Tomorrow we begin to mend fences. We have a responsibility to assure that we unite to make sure that Mike Rogers never sees the inside of the U.S. Senate.
The former public health official ran on a populist platform, campaigning on Medicare for all and abolishing ICE, and touting endorsements from progressives, including Bernie Sanders, who spoke with Kristen Welker and Hallie Jackson overnight.
I'm very proud of the campaign that he ran. It was a grassroots campaign. He had thousands and thousands of volunteers.
President Trump last night blasting progressive candidates like El-Sayed.
I think either they're very naive or they actually want to ruin the country. Anybody doing what they're doing and what they're espousing, everything turns out to ashes and junk and filth.
El-Sayed will now face a bruising battle against the Republican nominee, former Congressman Mike Rogers, who was endorsed by Trump for an open seat. That seat critical to Democrats' hopes of retaking the Senate this fall. In the Michigan governor's race, another Trump-backed candidate, John James, will face off against the Democratic nominee, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Progressives are also claiming victory in a key Michigan House primary, with activist William Lawrence defeating 2 Democratic challengers, setting up a race with Republican Tom Barrett in a district that President Trump carried by just 1 point in 2024. All of it raising the stakes for control of Congress in the midterm elections that are now just 90 days away.
And even though it was no doubt a good night for progressives, they certainly did not have a clean sweep. More moderate candidates won in other parts of Michigan, in Missouri, and in Virginia, where the two moderate candidates won two important congressional districts that Democrats view as an important part of their efforts to take back the House majority.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much. Well, let's get more analysis on these results with Jessica Taylor. She's the Senate and Governor's editor at Cook Political Report. Jessica, good morning. So, I mean, clearly the headline race here that we got to dig into, that's the Democratic Senate primary in battleground Michigan. What can we learn here from these two on our screens? Abdul El-Sayed, his win against Haley Stevens, including when it comes to the power of campaign financing, but I think also really broadly just like the state of the Democratic Party.
I mean, I think that you saw that there is certainly progressive energy, but I mean, Haley Stevens, she made this race much closer than polling was indicating. So I think that this was not, by not being a runaway victory for El-Sayed, it almost makes it tougher for him going into the general election. Now, Michigan is, as Ryan said, is incredibly critical to Democrats' hopes of winning back the majority. They have to defend this open seat. But Trump is very unpopular in Michigan. We have a poll out this morning that shows him 20 points underwater in a state that he carried just 2 years ago. So the Republican nominee there, Mike Rogers, we rate this race as a toss-up. And I think that El-Sayed, Republicans are eager to run against him. They feel like he was the weaker candidate. But Mike Rogers there, he will be, because he is Trump endorsed and has tied himself very closely to Trump, it is not going to be easy for him in a state where Trump is so underwater.
On the Republican side, it was a good night to be a Trump-backed candidate. Kansas State Senate President Ty Masterson won his party nomination in the state's race for governor. That sets him up for this midterm clash with Democratic State Senator Cindy Holscher. How do you see that battle going? How much of a boost is it to have the president's backing in a state like Kansas, given what you were just mentioning about the president's current, the rating of the president right now?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas, this is Republicans' best pickup opportunity in an open governor's race. Laura Kelly has been the Democratic governor there for 8 years. So we see Ty Masterson as a slight favorite there. We rate this race as lean Republican. Cindy Holscher won that Democratic primary over Kelly's the Kelly-backed candidate, Ethan Corson, that Republicans viewed as the more moderate and stronger general election candidate. So I think that you had a more progressive candidate win there, and that makes that race more difficult for Democrats.
And Jessica, we understand Cook Political Report has changed its rating in Kansas in light of Reverend Adam Hamilton winning the Democratic Party's Senate primary there. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, this is a race that is coming on board. Now, that Kansas is a state that Trump won by 16, but we're seeing some sort of unrest in the Midwest. States like Iowa that we also rate as lean Republican with high tariffs and diesel prices and fertilizer prices that are being impacted by the war in Iran and Trump's tariffs. So Adam Hamilton, he's pastor of the largest United Methodist Church in the country. He's running against Roger Marshall. So this is a race that we've seen close polling in. And so we are moving this on to a category that we are watching. Marshall is still favored in that contest, but there could be something happening in Kansas. So we rate it as likely Republican now.
All right, Jessica Taylor, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, this morning we're learning more about an arrest at President Trump's golf course near Los Angeles. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department says police arrested an armed man over the weekend at the Trump National Golf Course just days before the president's planned visit. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has the latest details for us. Gabe, good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning. Overnight, authorities charging that California man, and he's expected to make his first court appearance later today. Investigators and the Secret Service are now trying to determine why he appeared to be scoping out the president's golf course just days before his arrival. This morning, a California man in court after an alleged threat to President Trump. The arrest coming over the weekend at the Trump National Golf Course near Los Angeles. Plainclothes federal agents say they noticed 38-year-old Janine John Teal taking photographs and videos and, quote, appearing to monitor security planning activities, just days ahead of the president's visit to the course for a fundraiser. He faces weapons charges after officials say they found a 16-round magazine on Teal, a loaded pistol in his car, and more items at his home, including guns, body armor, high-capacity magazines, radio signal devices, and notebooks containing, quote, concerning statements. The incident comes after multiple assassination attempts on the president, including the 2024 arrest of another man with a rifle at another Trump golf course in Florida. The president responding overnight.
Well, the only thing I get a little solace from is they say only consequential presidents. And I am definitely consequential.
The president on a whirlwind trip to the West Coast, also weighing in on the future of his longtime close ally, Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. attorney in D.C. and former Fox News host.
I just think she was totally wrong.
Pirro's job with the Justice Department now in jeopardy after she dropped a felony case against a former U.S. Olympian accused of vandalizing the reflecting pool, one of the president's major renovations in Washington. Pirro and Trump, quote, had it out in the Oval Office on Monday, according to a source briefed on their meeting. Pirro, seen here leaving the White House, now argues in a court filing that the pool's lining was peeling not because of vandalism, but because of a flawed installation by the contractor. The source says she has not offered to resign, but the president remains pretty furious with her.
I told her I was not happy.
Is she safe? Are you going to keep her in the position?
I haven't made a determination.
As for the arrest at the Trump golf course in California, the suspect has also just been charged with a 2025 robbery. Online court records did not appear to show an attorney for him overnight. Secret Service just out with a new statement thanking its agents and other law enforcement for their prompt and thorough work. Savannah.
All right, Gabe, thank you so much. Let's dig in more on that confrontation between Jeanine Pirro and President Trump that has left her status there, her job status uncertain. NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley joins us now from Washington, D.C. Ryan, good morning. So what do we know right now about Jeanine Pirro's Oval Office meeting with President Trump?
Well, we know that this case, we know that there was this battle, right, between the Interior Department and the Justice Department, because after they returned this indictment or convinced grand juries to return this indictment, the Interior Department gave a bunch of documents that laid out what had been publicly reported contemporaneously, right, that this material was improperly applied, and that's why it was coming up from the bottom. And so it sort of really did sink this case ultimately, because this was not going to be a successful prosecution, because there was so important. It was so important for them to be able to prove that this was more than $1,000 worth of damage. It was sort of surprising that a grand jury returned the indictment in the first place. And so that raised these questions about how they were instructed, how the witnesses talked about this matter, because originally the government's own witness wasn't able to represent that it cost more than $1,000 based on what they alleged that the Olympic canoeists did. And so once they got more of those documents, once this was challenged by the defendant, that was when I think they recognized that this was never going to be a successful prosecution, that all of the material that they had gotten from the Interior Department was going to doom this, and I think, realized that they had to drop this. But Donald Trump obviously has constructed this narrative that this was more about vandalism, even though that's not what the government's own documents said. And one of the really interesting things in here, Donald Trump has talked repeatedly about someone taking a knife to the pool. In fact, some of the documents that were turned over, we learned in a filing last night, indicate that the government, a government contractor himself, a government engineer, had cut part of it off because it was sort of flapping in the wind, and he ended up taking a knife to it and taking that material off himself. And so it really does just undermine the investigation altogether. And that's why you've seen the case against the Olympic canoeists dropped, as well as 3 other defendants who were charged in connection with incidents at the reflecting pool.
How's the standoff adding pressure on Pirro as her office looks at the possibility of bringing charges against other Trump targets?
Yeah, so that's the really interesting question, right? Because this DC position is really essential, and a lot of the cases that Donald Trump would like to see brought against his enemies can really only be brought in DC. We saw that referral from a Trump ally on the Hill, alleging that Jack Smith had somehow misled Congress. That case would have to be brought in DC because Jack Smith testified in person in the District of Columbia, and so that's a case that would have to move forward there. The Justice Department has typically struggled in the past to convince grand jurors to bring cases against the individuals Trump once targeted. For example, they tried to indict 6 sitting members of Congress over a social media video that Donald Trump didn't like, but federal grand jurors in D.C. have been more skeptical than elsewhere in the country, and they rejected those charges. And so in the end, I think the reflecting pool case, it's a question of whether Jeanine Pirro would be in a better position had that grand jury just rejected those charges off the bat instead of bringing them forward, because then she could sort of push blame over on DC grand jurors and it would be off her back. And so I think that's what we're going to see in the coming months, a continued pressure campaign from the president to get charges against more of his political enemies.
And what do you think that more broadly says about how Trump is weighing in on Justice Department decisions?
Yeah, I mean, he really is weighing in on everything, right? We saw the Comey seashells case that was brought in North Carolina, and he really does want to see more of these cases. There are other efforts to try to bring charges against Trump enemies in other jurisdictions. There's this grand conspiracy investigation in the Southern District of Florida that doesn't seem to be going anywhere at the moment, but the idea is that they want to be able to reach back far beyond the 5-year statute of limitations and somehow charge people over things that happened early in Donald Trump's first term. So this is going to be a continued pressure point. And I think, it remains to be seen after Todd Blanche has confirmed how this all will play out in the future.
All right, Ryan Riley, thank you. Well, not Ohio, where Republican Congressman Max Miller is refusing to drop his bid for re-election hours before a deadline to withdraw. This is after facing those serious allegations of domestic abuse. NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell has the latest. Kelly, good morning.
Good morning. The Ohio congressman says he will not go quietly. He denies allegations of domestic abuse, and he is resisting calls to exit his race for a third term in the House. The controversy around Max Miller has exposed a deep rift in a prominent political family, where the congressman and his former father-in-law, a U.S. senator, are at odds. Ohio Republican Max Miller says he is staying in his race and fighting back.
I will never, ever, ever let my baby girl see her dad walk away as a quitter.
While Senator Bernie Moreno, whose daughter Emily is divorced from Miller and claims Miller has abused her, allegations the congressman denies.
This is truly the 7th level of hell. This has been a horrific experience for my entire family.
Moreno says Miller is unfit for public office. He described a custody swap Sunday, claiming Miller would not hand over his granddaughter's favorite toy.
She has a little blue bunny that she sleeps with, literally held it hostage for 48 hours.
The House Ethics Committee opened a probe that Miller requested that will focus on whether he may have engaged in domestic violence and abuse or illegal drug use. In an interview Tuesday, Miller acknowledged past drug use.
The last time I had illegal drugs would have been, several years ago.
He is refuting allegations Emily Moreno made in police reports that Miller pointed a gun at her and scalded her with hot water.
Miss Moreno filed the police report. The prosecutor looked at it. They looked at it for a very long time. There was nothing there.
Miller, a former Trump White House staffer, citing the president's past response to crisis.
In 2016, when President Donald J. Trump faced the most extreme allegations in the world that hit him day after day after day, he stayed in and he was resilient.
And described a phone call from the president about his own re-election chances.
He said, Maxie, it's going to be a tough race. And he said, I don't know if you're going to be able to, pull this one out.
The president was asked about Miller overnight.
I hope he's able to work it out. I feel badly for him.
While in another interview late last night, the congressman again vowing to stay in the race.
There's no chance that I'm removing myself from this race.
Ohio's 7th congressional district had been considered a likely Republican win in November before this controversy erupted so publicly. Today is a key deadline for the GOP to choose another candidate and replace Miller if he were to drop out. So apart from the family distress here, Republicans trying to hang on to control of the House have a new worry over this particular seat.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much. Well, now to the latest on those devastating wildfires in Washington state. We are learning more about Aaron Farnacci, the man accused of starting the largest of 3 major fires near Spokane. NBC News national correspondent Morgan Chesky has the latest. Morgan, good morning.
Yeah, authorities say that 37-year-old Aaron Farnacci is currently being held on a $1 million bond, charged with starting the very fire that has now burned thousands of acres and hundreds of homes, including the very one we're standing in front of. The development here has been met by the community in a mixture of anger and sadness, as everyone grapples with the fact that this horrific disaster may not have been an accident.
This morning, an exhaustive firefight in eastern Washington. Frontline crews facing a sweltering heat wave as they battle a fiery disaster. In Spokane, the man authorities say is responsible for setting the most destructive fire in the state's history, appearing in court for the first time.
Did you hear and understand the rights that I went over?
Yes, Your Honor.
The sheriff releasing this image of officers arresting Aaron Farnacci, the 37-year-old now accused of starting the blaze that has already scorched entire neighborhoods, wiping out hundreds of homes.
It was citizens who were paying attention to their surroundings, being aware and willing to step up and say something that led to the relatively quick apprehension of Mr. Farnacci.
Here in Spokane, with thousands still evacuated, emotions are raw.
To hear all of this may have been the work of an arsonist.
Yeah, I mean, I think to say we're mad and upset are a vast understatement.
It feels impossible that one person could cause this much damage to people and to property and to a community.
Lindsay and Chris Sabo say they just paid off their home 5 weeks ago.
All of our things are gone. We have nothing.
That's our house.
Lindsay's parents, Ken and Lisa Anderson, who live nearby, lost their home too. The unimaginable losses hitting them all hard, especially their children.
What are you going to miss the most?
Memories and like Christmas and like having memories with other people, and like all my friends' house burnt down, so that was more memories.
It's our house right there. It's about to go down in flames.
Why would somebody do this? Look at what they've caused. Look at the disruption, the devastation, the hurt.
And this morning we are learning more about the suspect. Farnacci pleaded guilty to a manslaughter charge back in 2010 when he killed his own father in Arizona. He did serve prison time for that, but was released 6 years ago. As for this arson charge, he has yet to enter a formal plea, but that is expected tomorrow when he has a scheduled arraignment. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Morgan, thank you. Well, for more on the conditions fueling the wildfires, and the possible record high temperatures in the Northwest, let's take a look at your Morning News Now weather with Angie Lassman here with us. Hey, Angie.
Hi there, Savannah. The good news is that winds are going to be light across that region, really Washington and Oregon. But the problem is we're going to see those temperatures surge. We're back to the 90s in a lot of spots. So big picture look for the air quality alerts. Let's start there. We've got them up across parts of the Pacific Northwest, across parts of the Rockies, and a whole lot of fires burning across the western half of the country, really. So no surprise that that wildfire smoke is back in the forecast for you today. This is going to be something that you see kind of stretched across parts, of course, of the Pacific Northwest. Hazy conditions across parts of the northern Rockies and even parts of the Midwest. Could see maybe a little bit of a haze out there. But the real concern that we have for air quality and breathing is going to be across the Pacific Northwest. Wherever you see that orange or that red, or even the purple, that means we are anywhere from unhealthy for sensitive groups all the way to just downright very unhealthy. So again, that same kind of advice that we've been giving day after day stands today as well. Air conditioned areas, making sure that the windows are closed, having air filters is going to go a long way. Baker City, Quincy, those are some of the highest numbers we see there on the map, and those are coming in at that AQI of unhealthy. So just a heads up, that's going to be with us at least through today. We don't see a whole lot of containment with these fires, so we're likely going to see this over the next couple of days into the weekend. Heat alerts, I mentioned that we're going to see temperatures ramp up. We've already got 29 million people under these alerts right now with, these warmer than normal temperatures continuing across a good chunk of the Southwest and stretching up across parts of the Pacific Northwest. It's 96 degrees in Portland today. That temperature well above where we should be, 15 degrees above average for that location at this time of year. Salt Lake City into the mid-90s. We've got Phoenix at 107. Note that if we do have really hazy conditions, that could keep our temperatures down just a touch, but not enough to really make a difference for folks when it comes to those wildfire conditions. Otherwise, looking ahead to tomorrow, it's still the 90s across Salt Lake City. We've got triple digits for Reno, Las Vegas, Albuquerque, near 100 in Denver tomorrow as well. August warmth continues across the east, too. Not quite as hot as what we're seeing across the west, but still 90 degrees in Philadelphia on Friday. We've got 90s across the board through the weekend in Raleigh, upper 80s in Lexington to wrap up the work week, and then high 90s for Little Rock Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So very summer-like, feeling quite steamy for a lot of folks. We're also dealing with some rain. We've got flood alerts. They're less than 10 million, but still include Burlington, St. Louis, and Washington, D.C. this morning as we gear up for a bit more of that rain. 2 spots of rain that we're watching. A couple of these kind of spotty showers across the Appalachians. And then we've got this cold front that's going to continue sliding across the Midwest. That ramps up our chances for thunderstorms. Some of them could be gusty. And then it's on the move into the Northeast for tomorrow. There's those scattered storms that are kind of centered across the Northeast and stretching down the Southeast. The good news is severe risk risk is going to be low today, but we'll still have that chance to see the heavy rain. So some localized flooding not out of the question. And especially as we get through at least tomorrow, we'll pick up another inch or two in some of these spots. So again, we'll watch for the potential for some localized flooding across that region, across parts of the southeast. The highest amounts of rain are going to be on the west coast of Florida and across parts of Tennessee and North Carolina, where we'll see maybe an inch or two. Big picture look for your weekend. Looking ahead, best time of the week. We've got really hot conditions across the middle of the country. Those showers stay with us across the Northeast, and they're still kind of lingering even as we get into our Saturday. But the heat and humidity is going to be really essentially the big story. Anywhere from the Mississippi west, we'll keep that heat wave going. And if you live across the south, it'll be quite humid. But if we're looking on the bright side, Savannah, pool weather. I think if you can beat the heat, 100 degrees across parts of Texas, Arkansas, the pool is going to be where it's at.
That is a great point, and I like you put that right on the map. Thanks, Angie.
Just for you.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, unauthorized surveillance. We are digging into a new investigation uncovering how dozens of police officers are using cameras designed to fight crimes to stalk women. But up first, produce problems as cases of cyclospora climb. Officials are warning of another foodborne bacteria outbreak. The produce at a fast casual chain now in focus as the possible source. We're back now with some worrying health news as officials track two major foodborne illness outbreaks. There are now more than 10,000 confirmed cases of cyclosporiasis, while separately more than 100 cases of salmonella have been identified in Minnesota. NBC News Chief and Environmental Affairs correspondent Ann Thompson has the latest. Ann, good morning.
Hey there, first it was lettuce, now it's jalapenos. More than 100 cases in Minnesota, with the vast majority of those people having eaten recently at Chipotle, according to the state's health department. The popular restaurant chain says they've removed and replaced the peppers in question as health officials face yet another outbreak connected to the food we eat. For thousands of Americans who frequent the produce aisle, it's been a summer to forget.
I am on day 17 of this parasite, and I'm not having a good time.
The CDC now confirming more than 10,000 cases of cyclospora infections across 47 states, and they're looking into another 12,000, some of which federal officials say are linked to the recalled iceberg lettuce supplied by Taylor Farms. Ohio's health director says it's not time to avoid fruits and vegetables altogether, but instead focus on inspecting and cleaning the produce we buy.
This is something to take very seriously.
Meanwhile, this morning, diners in Minnesota are waking up to a recent salmonella surge. At least 110 cases have been identified so far, according to the state's health department. With jalapenos from a popular fast casual chain, Chipotle, a main focus. State officials say 89% of those who've gotten sick since mid-June ate at Chipotle, while the rest dined at other Mexican-style restaurants. In a statement, Chipotle saying they, quote, proactively removed the jalapenos in question and replaced them with products from different growers. What's the difference between salmonella and cyclosporiasis?
Cyclosporiasis is from a parasite, and people tend to recover very slowly over a couple weeks' time period. With salmonella, we see 400 deaths a year.
As Americans grow more weary and worried about these events, industry experts say these recent outbreaks highlight correctable flaws in our nation's food supply.
Every company, no matter big, small, should be following very, very strict food safety protocols in order to make sure that they're not killing their customers or making their customers sick.
As for the salmonella outbreak, the FDA says it's looking into almost 212 cases. That's almost double the number that Minnesota is reporting. And unlike the state, the federal government says it has yet to identify a single source. Instead, it's looking at multiple ingredients. Back to you.
All right, Ann, thank you. Well, coming up, demanding oversight. Privacy advocates are raising the alarm after a Washington Post investigation found dozens of police officers used cameras intended to fight crime to stalk women. The worrying details up next. We're back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with another redistricting battle taking shape. Legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach joins us with that and more. Hey, Gary, good morning.
Hey there, Savannah. Here's what's happening in politics now. Democrats in Maryland voted Tuesday to put a question on November's ballot that could have paved the way for the elimination of the state's only GOP-held congressional district. The move comes after months of Democratic infighting in the state over how to respond to GOP redistricting efforts around the country. Voters in Virginia and lawmakers in New York have made similar moves. Maryland Republicans, however, are calling this effort overreach. The federal workforce is getting a whole lot smaller as a result of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency. But it's not just impacting folks here in D.C. An NBC News analysis of government data has found more than 377,000 employees left the federal workforce over the past 19 months, with Hawaii, Maine, and Virginia losing the greatest share of federal workers. And while every department and agency across the federal government was impacted, the Department of Defense let go the lion's share of federal workers, more than 100,000, according to government data. And a judge in Virginia has ordered the FBI supervisor with top secret clearance who stole nearly $1 million in cryptocurrency from a Russian account to be detained until he and his attorneys come up with a suitable third-party custodian for him to live with. Magistrate Judge Lindsay Vala told Yarok in a hearing on Tuesday she wouldn't allow his wife to be that third-party custodian, so Yarok is now scrambling to find an alternative that the judge will find appropriate. The Department of Justice is hoping Yarok remains detained pending trial, calling him a significant flight risk given his experience and career at the FBI. That's what's happening in politics now. Savannah, back to you.
All right, Gary, thank you so much. Well, privacy advocates are demanding more oversight of a nationwide camera network used by thousands of police departments. It comes after a new Washington Post investigation found that dozens of law enforcement officers were using license plate readers for unauthorized surveillance. At least 50 officers have been charged with or accused of misusing camera systems. Well, according to the Post's analysis, officers use them to track and stalk women, which sometimes led to physical violence, emotional abuse, and manipulation. Flock, the company behind one widely used camera network, said it was designed to fight crime, but the company said misuse of the technology is inevitable. Flock told the Post it's now working on better filters and tools to stop abuse before it happens. Currently, there are no federal laws around the use of license plate readers, and there are few state laws. Therefore, most local police agencies are making their own rules here. Drew Harwell joins us now on this one. He's a tech reporter for the Washington Post, and he was part of the team who conducted this investigation. Drew, good morning. First, let's just talk about how Flock's cameras work, what it is that they are capturing, how it is that you can search and get information out of those captures.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. These are cameras that I think we all have driven past many times in America at this point. There's 120,000 on public roadways. You would never guess what they look like because they look like little air fresheners on the side of the road, but they scan every passing car. They take pictures of the license plates. They take the text out from those license plates and put them into a big mappable database that cops can then look on afterward to tell when you drove by that location, at what time, and really create a map of your travels. And so this has been a great crime fighting tool for cops, but as we've seen here, it's a really powerful tool for abuse from these officers who can go in on their phone or on their computer, look up whoever they want to look up, often in the middle of the night, often hundreds of searches at a time, and really get the details they need to be able to stalk and spy on this person without them ever knowing.
So, Drew, now tell me more about your investigation. So you just mentioned some of this information that you were able to glean, when they are searching, what they are searching, the license plates that they're pulling without any reason that's connected to a crime. How exactly did you guys do this? Because I know you also had text conversations between victims and some of the accused officers, court documents. How did you do this investigation?
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, thousands of pages of court records, police internal reports. We went to the agencies themselves. We talked to a number of victims. I spent time with some victims who had been, one woman in Georgia was stalked by a former police chief hundreds of times through Flock. So it was a lot of records gathering. Part of the problem here is that there's not a lot of transparency into these reports. I think it's almost certainly an undercount our number of 50 officers who have misused this tool, because a lot of the reports we found were cases where where the cop had already been charged with the crime or arrested. Sometimes the victims were able to find it out themselves by going onto a website called Have I Been Flocked, where they gather some of these public records. Some of these, the police departments themselves were able to audit their records and find that the cops had misused them. But I think there are probably a lot of cases out there that we don't even know about because cops have a lot of freedom to investigate crime however they want. They're not always, there's not always a lot of supervision of the searches they're running. And a lot of these searches are run for legitimate crimes. But so it was a lot of records that we had to go through.
Drew, what have you said from Flock or heard from Flock or any similar companies on this to your reporting?
Yeah, well, some people at Flock say, this is a problem we're taking seriously. We're installing new programs to keep cops using the tool in the right way. But there is kind of an argument from some Flock investors who feel like this is a non-issue, right? That because these systems are so powerful for stopping crime, cases of abuse are going to happen. They're going to do their best to investigate them after the fact. But I think it really raises a big question of how comfortable are we with all of these cameras on public roadways tracking all of us without our knowledge or consent and leading to these cases of stalking that could proceed into something far worse.
Is anything being done to try to regulate license plate reader technology, Drew?
As you said earlier, there's no federal laws. There's a patchwork of state laws, but there's 18,000 police agencies in this country. All of them basically police themselves, and they have different rule sets for them for their own sort of officers. There are some privacy advocates pushing for Flock to install really basic changes, like requiring officers to put a criminal case for each search, so they have to legitimately, certify that each search is real and not just somebody they know. But a lot of this is being put on the companies themselves. There's not a big push federally to rein these in. So I'll be curious if that changes in the years ahead.
All right, Drew Harwell, great reporting. Thank you so much for joining us to discuss.
Yeah, thank you.
Coming up, get ready to rearrange your top 8. The owners of MySpace say they're relaunching the site that took the internet by storm in the early 2000s. What we know so far about the comeback, that's next. Welcome back. From customizing your profile with glittery gifts to picking your top 8 friends, MySpace was once the place to be online. It even helped launch the careers of Adele and Lily Allen after they posted demos on the platform. Well, now nearly 2 decades after losing ground to Facebook and other social platforms, the company's current owners say they are planning a comeback. But in a world dominated by TikTok, Instagram, even now AI, can MySpace really find a new audience? Well, let's dig into it. We've got Tech Radar editor at large, Lance Ulanoff, here on set with us. Lance, good morning. Always loving you join us. So I will admittedly say I wasn't allowed to have MySpace, so this is a little out of my depths. I never had to pick a top 8, which I think seems like a good thing. But first, let's just talk through what's been happening with the site, because it's passed through several different ownerships, even including a Justin Timberlake stint thrown in there. What's been going on with it? Who owns it now?
Right. Well, it's the same guys that bought it with Justin Timberlake. I think they're named Vanderhook. It's maybe they're brothers, but they bought it with Justin Timberlake for like $36 million. And what's interesting about that is when Fox Corp bought it previously, it was $850 million.
Insane.
And it launched in about 2004. I always say that the way you describe MySpace to an adult is that take a teenage brain, turn it inside out, and that's what it looks like on the page. It was just wild and interesting and eclectic. It immediately fell behind in the race with Facebook. That's where it never really came back from that. It's very much now, it still exists, by the way, very much now focused purely on music, but the numbers for people visiting are very, very low. And the big question is, what could they possibly do that people would want now? Even the sentiment around social media has changed so drastically that, what can you do to make it pure and interesting and feel safe? And not for nothing, the world of social media has changed in that young people can't even get on anymore in some countries. They're being blocked. Regulation keeps coming down. People under 16 either have parents' permission or they can't get on at all. That was MySpace's audience. Are they trying to bring that back?
What do we have many details at this point? We don't, right?
No, we don't. And I was shocked that they didn't say, we're bringing it back with AI. It's all AI because everybody talks about AI. And I guess there's a play to do that. But I think it's probably the exact wrong play right now since AI kind of splits people. So could they bring back a MySpace that feels like pure play, that feels basic doesn't have algorithms, that really allows people to kind of do what they did before, but in a more structured way. I don't know that that's their plan. And again, I don't know if there's room for that because the space is crowded. People have kind of picked their platforms. I don't know if they're switching.
What do you think about the possibility of them using AI? Would that be good for the site?
No, I think it would not be great. You know, it's first of all, it keeps it. You know, Tom Anderson, who co-founded it, he was your first friend. Tom was your first friend,
of course.
And I just kept imagining him as the AI avatar that smile at you and talk to you, and it really just sounded terrible to me. So I hope they don't do that. We don't need more AI in social media. I think we need more purity, less algorithms to get back to something basic. And it was wonderful during the golden age of this, which was really 2012 to like 2015.
Do you think we'll still have a top 8?
Oh, I'm sure. Well, yeah. I mean, that's like the people you have in your Instagram who only get the private stuff, like your small group.
Right.
Yeah, there's always a chance for that. Maybe they'll make that the main thing.
It is interesting, though, just because it does feel like the social media space has, I mean, not even feels like it's a fact, that it's just changed so much. Yes. And we've seen it really more so, I mean, here and there you see kind of like returns to nostalgic things, but not so much when it comes to technology platforms, right? Like people want the next new thing.
Right. They like record players and film cameras, you know, these things from the past that were not technology. But social media, they're kind of like maybe less of it. They want to touch grass again. They want to start to see people in person.
Right.
And, you know, when MySpace came out, it wasn't long after everyone got broadband. So it really was such a new and special thing. I mean, everyone's on broadband, everyone's on social media now. What is the purpose of bringing this thing back at this time?
All right. Lance, always great to have you with us. Thank you. Definitely a talker. Well, now let's get to a viral story that we might be able to relate to here on Morning News Now. A morning news anchor in Memphis is making a headline of her own after appearing to fall asleep on the air. Our Laura Jarrett has more on the breaking snooze. Laura, good morning.
Hey there, Dominique Dillon is not only a morning news anchor in Memphis, she is a busy mom of 2. And after dozing off mid-show briefly, she's taking that viral moment in stride and enjoying a major showing of support.
As someone who delivers the news every day,
in our continuing coverage,
Dominique Dillon never expected to have her own headline-making moment. But that's just what happened when the Good Morning Memphis anchor and reporter was caught on camera dozing off during a report. Video of the moment quickly going viral.
Sleeping Beauty over here.
Her co-anchor having some fun.
Kind of makes you want to take a nap.
What are you talking about? I wasn't napping. There was something in my eye, obviously.
People online quickly jumping to Dominique's defense, posting, "Excellence can be exhausting." A local news meteorologist adding, "I've been there and I get it." Other viewers noting Dominique is a mom of 2 young girls who only returned from maternity leave in April, writing, "She has a little one at the house, so her nights are different right now." Another commenting, "All mamas can relate." The California native got her start in news in 2017, working in Texas and Louisiana before moving to Memphis 2 years later. Now, she's taking her sleepy moment in stride, sharing this photo with her co-anchor and smiling on the anchor desk the next morning with this quote, "Every morning you have 2 choices, continue to sleep with your dreams or wake up and chase them."
All right. Well, she handled that in stride. Laura Jarrett, thank you so much. Coming up, chasing big screens. Moviegoers are flocking to IMAX theaters to watch the summer's biggest movies. But now some cinemas are going a step further to enhance the viewer experience. We'll get you the details next. Let's end this hour with a trip to the movies. Box office hit Spider-Man Brand New Day is swinging into IMAX theaters tomorrow. Fans of films like Spider-Man and The Odyssey are part of a growing trend of film fanatics who are chasing even bigger screens and more immersive experiences. NBC News Entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas went to check it all out.
I want you to choose me.
As fans embark on their own odysseys to watch Christopher Nolan's latest epic,
we're seeing The Odyssey in 40X.
The ones brave enough to view the film in 4DX are going viral. 4DX is a multi-sensory theater experience with special effects that fully immerse you in the movie. The world's biggest and busiest 4DX theater is at this Regal Cinema in Times Square, so I had to give it a try.
I'm wondering how wet am I gonna get? Oh my gosh.
Get ready.
Okay, that was wind. Oh, and I just got punched in the back. It's like being on a roller coaster. Oh my God, okay.
We have 2 4DX auditoriums, including the world's largest 4DX, and we are consistently selling out. So the 4DX is an immersive experience, so there's a lot of elements that go into it. We do have some wind nozzles there that could spray.
So these are wind nozzles?
Yes.
Oh, I thought they were buttons. Ooh, okay.
4DX theaters have up to 13 different environmental effects, like snow or fog, from rolling to tickling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that one startles people the most.
Yeah.
It takes about 2 weeks for 4DX producers to design the plan for each film. To get the Odyssey right, the team watched the movie at least 10 times, rewatching some scenes more than 100 times to nail the effects. The growing popularity of premium large formats like 4DX comes as movie theaters are rebounding, with this year's domestic box office projected to hit $10 billion for the first time since the pandemic, according to Rentrack. The Odyssey sent fans into a frenzy, desperate for IMAX tickets, and the limited number of IMAX screens creating a traffic jam for studios. The Odyssey blocking Spider-Man Brand New Day from IMAX and Doom Part 3, doing the same to Avengers Doomsday later this year.
You're far stronger.
All paving the way for film distributors to embrace IMAX competitors like CJ 4Dplex, the company behind 4DX and ScreenX, which gives moviegoers an extended 270-degree view.
The premium formats has really led the revival of cinema. This year we're looking in premium formats being up a total of 19%.
Over the weekend, Spider-Man Brand New Day set a new record for the biggest box office opening weekend of all time.
This is the first film that was shot for ScreenX specifically. We had additional cameras on all principle of photography, capturing 180-degree spectrum.
All proving that fan demand for special theatrical experiences is not slowing down. Chloe Malas, NBC News.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I haven't been to one of those 4DXs in a while, but I thought it was a blast. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Don't go anywhere. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.